Hello friends, my name is Dr. Huma Hassan and let's continue our series on Indian sociology. So we were discussing Indian perspective to understand Indian society. We were having, we had reflection on what M.N. Srinivas was talking to understand Indian society. So let's quickly give you short revision. So Mysore Narasimhachar, 1916 to 1999, his contribution is enormous, right? Now, you would see that what is the important point which you have to understand, that he had approached field study, okay, empirical evidences. Now, by approaching field studies, what he had done, he had challenges the notion which was created for Indian society as static and not changing, okay. Then you would see that how he presented a contrasting narrative that depicted Indian society as vibrant, dynamic, and constantly evolving. In my previous lecture, please go through my playlist on Indian perspective. You would see that how broadly I have explained the influences of G.S. Gure. Okay, now you need to know that what was his important work. Okay, so his ethnographic masterpiece. Do make your notes. Those students who are following me in this playlist, you are ultimately going to be benefited if you are making your notes. Okay, so please do make the notes in that series. That what was the masterpiece work of M.N. Srinivas. So the masterpiece work of M.N. Srinivas, where he had shown how empirical studies or data can be collected to examine Indian society, was reflecting in his work Religion and Society among the Cougs of South India, 1952. Right? So Cougs are Cordovas. So here he has used participant observation. Now, participant observation is one of the qualitative methods in which researchers go to the field, live there, and collect the data by participating, by observing. So, by doing this, we are getting nuanced data. It is unlike that the way we are collecting data with respect to quantitative methods. Okay, so here we are applying which method? Anti-positivism. Okay, so you would see that how and why M. Srinivas is being considered as structural functionalist, because he is analyzing the structure in Indian society, and for that he is using ethnographic methodologies. And what is that ethnographic methodologies? Participant observation. Okay, so this is the one important part, and where he was reflecting while collecting the data. So it was on rituals, kinship, power dynamics, and then he challenged the portrayal. All right. So Srinivas uncovered, keep writing. Srinivas uncovered the complex mechanisms that maintain social cohesion and hierarchy within this community. Okay, so this actually make M. and Srinivas structural functionalist. Okay, this part. So you would see that how M. and Srinivas is making an application of sociological theories. Okay, so he's using Durkheim perspectives and also Weber perspectives, and you would see that his writing is very similar with the writings and the theories which we have got from Talcott Parson. Okay, so what Talcott Parson had argued in the structure of social action, he argued that you need macro and macro analysis both. So later on you would see that how M.N. Srinivas also, by making such huge contribution to understand and reflect on on society, Indian society, he had used both macro and micro perspective simultaneously. Right? So this is what you will write. So notably, this work revealed Srinivas' conviction that lived experiences, okay? So you can write, notably, this work revealed Srinivas' convictions that lived experiences could not be fully understood through textbook or colonial records, because colonial power came to India, and because since then we have got reflection on Indian culture or our heritage or on our tradition by textbook interpretation or colonial records. So he argued that the kind of information we are having, it may be helpful for us to understand history of our Indian culture, but it is not at all substantial for us. So which often reflected normative ideas than empirical realities. So M.N. Srinivas focusing more on empirical realities. You would see the kind of caste dynamics which we know today. It is so very different with respect to Varna model. Now M.N. Srinivas later on have explained this, that when we need to know the caste realities, we need to separate it from Varna model. So Varna model is very different, but in practicing it is different. So there is a far gap between preaching and practicing. Now you would see that Varna model, that the Brahmin, Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas and the Shudras, and if we consider untouchables, Harijans, 5 categories. But there are interactions between all these categories. Okay, so how even the caste in India is fluid in nature, how we are having interaction, that kind of explanations has we have got it from M. Srinivas writing. Okay, so that's what you have to write. So that is why he argued that the textbook interpretation or the colonial records are not sufficient. Okay, we need empirical realities. So building on these insights, Srinivas offered a dynamic interpretation of the caste system in contrast to the colonial or Orientalist scholars who have depicted caste system as immutable hierarchy. Now, Srinivas argued that it is fluid and adaptive. So what you people have to take away from this lecture, you need to say that how textbook interpretation with respect to caste system was totally based on the Varna model. Okay, this is how G.S. Gure had also explained while explaining the 6 features of the Indian caste system. Now, M.N. Srinivas is explaining that if you focus and if you'll get the ethnographic details by using participant observation, you are having you are having interview, you are noticing not many things, and then with realities, with facts, you would see that how even the caste system in India is fluid and adaptive. Now, this is the core point which you have to take away. Okay, I hope you people are understanding that how you people have to see this sociology. He was social anthropologist. Okay, so M.N. Srinivas was social anthropologist. That's why you would see that the tradition of field work or the empirical evidences, he borrowed from Redcliffe Brown, he borrowed from Evans Pritchard. So that was anthropology. So his approach was anthropological, but definitely there is no difference between social anthropology and sociology. So he used field work, okay, to examine caste system, religion and communities in India. What are the social problems? What are the dominant castes? So he reflected on the contemporary issues of Indian society by using anthropological perspectives, by using field studies on various issues in India. Okay, I hope you people are liking my lectures. Kindly share my lectures to the students. Put your doubts into the comment section. So whensoever I will find your doubt, I will answer it immediately. Okay, thank you.